Okay, so then let's. Okay, Mataji, thank you so much. Thanks to all the devotees who joined, who chanted, and who managed to come. Thanks to everyone in spite of so many difficulties. Okay. So we are continuing to read from Sri Brhad Bhagavatamrta. This is Book 2, session number 27, the journey of Gopakumar all the way to Goloka Vrindavan. So Gopakumar is still hearing some interesting details from Narada Muni now before he actually goes to Goloka. He's still in Vaikuntha now. So we'll start with the prayers. Oh, sorry, he's not in Vaikuntha. I'm so sorry for that. He's still in Dwaraka now, and he will soon reach Goloka Vrindavan. We'll start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanarshalakhaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamni Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschayati Deshtarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. All glories to Srila Sanatana Goswami, the author of Sri Brhad Bhagavatamrta. Om Ajnanat. So in the previous class, we stopped at a point where Narada Muni began to give his own opinion about the Lord's appearance in Sri Vrindavan Dham on earth. He told Gopakumar in Dwaraka, while Gopakumar was sitting in the house of Uddhava, that no one is an outsider here. You are in Uddhava's house. Neither you nor Uddhava is an outsider or doesn't understand the secrets of Vrajabhumi. So therefore, I can very freely talk to both of you about the glories of Vrajabhumi. So that's where we stopped in our previous class. So we are continuing from there. Then Narada said, in Vrajabhumi, the Lord's opulences have visibly achieved all sorts of perfection in various ways. His beauty, his sweetness, and all of his excellent qualities, even his subservience to his devotees, are all seen in perfection, in the peak of perfection in Vrajabhumi. And Narada began to describe in detail the features of Krishna and Gokul, the earthly Vrindavan. The land of Vraja is so attractive. That is the place where the Gopas, they take their cows for grazing in Vrajabhumi. But it is also the place where the supreme goddess of fortune has chosen that place for her own pastimes. Even though the sidelong glance of Mahalakshmi can empower great controllers of the universe like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the charms of Rajabhumi attract even her. If Gokul's opulences enchant Mahalakshmi, who enchants the entire world, then the opulence of Gokul or Rajabhumi, by which she herself is getting attracted, must be much greater than the opulence of all the places in this universe headed by Lord Brahma or any of the demigods. So the same Mahalakshmi who comes to Vraja on earth is also the wife of Lord Vaikuntanath. So if the wife of Lord Vaikuntanath is attracted by Vrajabhumi, that means the opulence of Vraja is much greater than even that of Vaikunta. So in Vaikunta, Lakshmi has many responsibilities in the household of Narayana. She is the chief housekeeper of that entire Vaikunta. She's in charge of Vaikunta. But there she's loaded with responsibilities. But here, when she comes, she enjoys herself in the land of Raja without any such responsibilities or formalities. So that is the reason why she feels so good to come down to Vrajabhumi. In short, all this means, whatever we discussed about opulence means, that wherever Krishna goes, actually wealth follows him. Mahalakshmi follows wherever Krishna goes. All the pastimes are very, very grand, and opulence follow naturally wherever Krishna goes. So the opulence of Lakshmi is most fully manifest in Vrajabhumi. And Shukadev Goswami himself describes this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He says in Canto 10, chapter 5, verse number 18, he says, O Maharaj Parikshit, the home of Nanda Maharaj is eternally the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his transcendental qualities, and is therefore always naturally endowed with the opulence of all wealth. Yet, beginning from Lord Krishna's appearance there, it became the place for the pastimes of the goddess of fortune. So, wherever Krishna goes, all opulence just follow him. And the opulence that is following him is feeling so comfortable. It is very, very free. Well, Lakshmi feels very free in Rajabhumi. That's what Sanatan Goswami is actually explaining through the words of Narada. So, the entire land of Rajabhumi is filled with kalpavrakshas. That means any tree with any of its parts can fulfill the desires of anyone who asks. Everyone says when you go to Vrindavan, you pray to the trees. The trees are kalpavriksha. Any part of the tree can satisfy any of your desires. However, in Vrindavan, though this entire place is filled with kalpavrikshas and the land is Chintamani, still the Lord doesn't display all his opulences in a very obvious form in Vraja. When he comes down to Vrindavan, he doesn't obviously display all the opulences. Though all the opulences are there everywhere, he's not freely displaying it because it may obstruct the sweetness of his pastimes. So, when there is too much opulence that is displayed, the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes get masked. So, that is the reason, though everything is so opulent in the land of Vraja, still it is covered by the sweetness of his pastimes. A single fruit or a single flower from any of the trees in Vraja can satisfy all the desires. However, if the trees begin to exhibit such opulence so openly, then it is going to be a big problem. Now, one may ask, why should the opulence of Vraja be kept a secret? Actually, Vraja is special. The Lord reveals his opulences, but only in selective instances he is ready to reveal his opulences. What are those selective instances? When these opulences, displaying of these opulences is useful for his pastimes. That is when he chooses to display his opulences. So if there is no special need for his opulences to be displayed, he just keeps it hidden. He doesn't want to show it to everyone. Though Nandanandana's pastimes are continuously expanding in the land of Vrajabhumi, and the opulences of Vraja is also actually expanding, still these opulences are very occasionally seen openly. For example, let's understand this in detail. For example, in the pastime of killing Putana, what happened? Though he exhibited his great opulence as the Supreme Lord, he also demonstrated to a great extent his kindness. Putana, she entered Nanda's house and she was dressed very, very nicely. Seeing her dressed so beautifully, Yashoda and others, they just accepted her immediately as one of them, as a very cultured Vaishnava. She appeared to be like a Vaishnava, very nicely dressed, a very, very cultured woman. When they saw her, they didn't have the slightest thought that she was a demoness. They just accepted her as one of them, and so much so that they allowed her to nurse Krishna with her own breasts. So that was how they accepted her. Now, when the Vaishnavas in Rajabhumi accepted Putana as a Vaishnava, that was enough to satisfy Krishna. So Krishna was very, very happy because his devotees were happy seeing Putana. Though Putana was a wicked demon and she had come with evil intentions, he arranged for her to achieve the most auspicious destination as a nurse in the spiritual world, which is almost equal to Mother Yashoda. Though she fed him poison, Krishna saw the good. He said, okay, you have pleased my devotees. I give you a position in the supreme abode of Goloka Vrindavan, where you can be a nurse, almost equal to the position of Mother Yashoda. And Srimad Bhagavatam glorifies this in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:23. This is in fact considered as the verse that transformed the heart of Shukadeva Goswami. Aho bakiyam stanakalakutam jigam syapaya yadapi asadvi leve gatim datri uchitam tatonyam kamva dayalum sharanam rajema. Alas, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he who granted the position of mother to the she-demon Putana, although she was unfaithful and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast. Not only Putana, but all her demon relatives like Aghasura, Bakasura, Kamsa, all of them were liberated simply by being drawn to Krishna's charming childhood pastimes. In Bhagavatam, again 10:435, Brahma says, my mind becomes bewildered just trying to think of what reward other than you can be found anywhere. You are the very embodiment of all benedictions, which you bestow upon the residents of the cowherd community of Vrindavan. You have already arranged to give yourself to Putana and her family members in exchange for her disguising herself as a devotee. What did she do? She disguised herself as a devotee. Still, you accepted her. So, you were ready to give yourself to her. So, what is left for you to give to these devotees of Vrindavan? Their homes, their wealth, friends, dear relations, bodies, children, their very life and hearts are all dedicated only to you. Like this, Brahma glorifies Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and the devotees of Vrindavan. Krishna, he allowed his belly to be, his udara to be tied by ropes, using ropes that is used for tending cows. And this belly was tied to a base of a mortar during the Damodar Leela pastime. This was his merciful nature. He was being submissive to his dear devotees. He was thinking, Yashoda's my mother. Why should I make her, do so much work to tie me up? Let me get bound. So, though Mother Yashoda used so many ropes, all that she had in her neighborhood, she brought all the ropes from her house. She got ropes from the houses of all her relatives and friends and neighbors, but still, the rope was not enough to bind her son. Evam swageha damani yashoda sandadhatyapि gopinam susmayam tinam samayanti vismita bhavat. Mother Yashoda joined whatever ropes were available in the household, but still she failed in her attempt to bind Krishna. Mother Yashoda's friends, the elderly gopis in the neighborhood, they were all smiling and enjoying the fun. Similarly, Mother Yashoda, although laboring in that way, was also smiling. All of them were struck with wonder. However, what happened? Krishna finally agreed to himself to get bound because of his causeless mercy and because of his love towards his mother. Because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body was covered with perspiration and the flowers from the comb were falling on her hair. When Krishna saw his mother so fatigued, he became so merciful to her and he agreed to be bound. So, this entire universe, with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, Lord Indra, all of them, they are under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Yet, the Supreme Lord Himself has one very special transcendental attribute. What is that? He comes under the control of His dear devotees. Bhritya Vatsalya. He comes under their control. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. So the ladies of Raja, they were delighted every minute in witnessing all these wonderful pastimes. Krishna, he further encouraged their love by performing all sorts of antics for their pleasure, by submitting to all their commands. He was doing all this just to please the devotees. The gopis sometimes would say, if you dance Krishna, then I will give you half a sweetmeat. Even today, we see parents, they're finding it very hard to keep the children at home with all this situation that is there today. Even today, parents, they are telling their children, if you complete your homework, if you behave properly, I will give you a small piece of cookie. Like that. In Vrajabhumi, Yashoda and all the other ladies, they wanted Krishna to display his sweetness very openly. So they would call Krishna and they would ask him, Krishna, Krishna, come and dance for us. If you dance today, I will give you half a sweetmeat. I will give you half a gulab jamun or half peda, like that. And just for that sweetmeat, Krishna would dance in front of them, trying to please them. So they would bribe him like that, and they would clap their hands and they would encourage him, saying, Krishna, come on, dance, dance, you can do this, you can sing, you can dance, like that. So Krishna, though he was the supreme powerful supreme personality of Godhead, he would smile and he would dance according to the desire of the Vrajavasis, as if he was like a wooden doll. He was like a puppet in their hands. Sometimes he would sing very loudly at their request. So, like this, Krishna, he showed that he was under the complete control of his devotees. He was under the complete control of the gopis of Vrindavan. Sometimes Mother Yashoda and her gopi friends would tell Krishna, Krishna, go now and bring this particular article, bring that article. Like that, they would send him to bring things. And sometimes they would order him to bring a heavy wooden plank or a wooden shoes or some sort of measuring pot, all heavy items. In fact, there is a pastime of how once the ladies of Raja, they were telling Krishna, now you go and bring Nanda Baba's slippers. And Krishna very lovingly took Nanda Baba's wooden sandals and he put it on his head and he brought it to the ladies. So sometimes, however, like a small kid who's unable to lift heavy things, Krishna would go to that place and he would touch that article and he would just stand there, showing that he's unable to lift it. So much sweetness. Now he's the Supreme Lord. He's holding up all the universes. Can't he lift wooden sandals or wooden articles? No, it's not that. Krishna was so naturally displaying his sweetness there. So he would just touch that article and he would stand there as if very tired. But some other times when he's in a good mood, he would act like he's the strongest boy. And just to show, to invite the pleasure of his relatives, he would strike his body, his arms, to show that he's got sufficient strength. So he would slap his arms like as if he's a big wrestler, and he would go and pick up things and bring it for the pleasure of the devotees in Vrindavan. Even in the Kaliya pastime, we see that when he was jumping from the Kadamba tree onto the little pond where this Kaliya was creating trouble, that time Krishna was slapping his arms and showing everyone that he's very strong and he's ready to jump into this Yamuna, portion of Yamuna. So like that, Krishna, he would display all these little things that would attract the hearts of all the devotees in Vrindavan. So to pure devotees throughout the world who could understand the activities of Krishna, the way he exhibited it, he just subdued his devotees. In this way, he increased the pleasure of the Vrajavasis by his childhood activities. No one could understand all this. They just enjoyed it. They were just seeing it and they were deriving so much pleasure from whatever Krishna was doing. So by such sweet pastimes, Krishna was sending a very clear message to the entire world. He was telling the entire world that he's only obtained by pure love, by bhakti, not by any amount of jnana or any other process, any of these yajnas or karma kandi activities or big philosophical debates. No, he's not purchased by all that. He is only purchased by pure love. Only love can actually be a method to obtain Krishna. He becomes subservient to his dear devotees. So like this, after speaking about the opulence of Rajabhumi, after speaking about the kindness of the Lord, how he was so kind to all his devotees. After speaking about the sweetness of Krishna, now Narada, he began to speak about Krishna's exquisite beauty. So speaking of Krishna's beauty, actually, no one can truly describe Krishna's beauty. It is not possible. His beauty even amazes him. So we were hearing in yesterday's Bhagavatam class by Suksavri Mataji how even Mahavishnu and Vasudeva Krishna are amazed seeing the beauty of Nandanandan Krishna and Vrindavan. So seeing his beauty, everybody, the cows, the peacocks, the birds, the trees, the grass, the bushes, everything becomes ecstatic. The plants and grass in Vraja, they just begin to show symptoms of ecstasy when Krishna's feet touches them. Everyone is so ecstatic when Krishna is there with him. Never before has such beauty been witnessed by the entire world. Never before. The beauty of Krishna surpasses everything, everything, anybody you can think of, anybody, including the other incarnations of the Lord. No one can be as beautiful as Krishna. This is also confirmed in Bhagavatam 3 to 12. Uddhava is saying, the Lord appeared in the mortal world by his internal potency, Yogamaya. He came in his eternal form, which is just suitable for his pastimes. These pastimes were wonderful for everyone, even for those who are proud of their own opulence, including the Lord himself in his form as Vaikuntanath. Thus, he, Sri Krishna, his transcendental body is the ornament of all ornaments. The gopis, again, they say in the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, the 29th chapter, verse 40, they say, Dear Krishna, what woman in all the three worlds wouldn't religious behavior when bewildered by the sweet, drawn out melody of your flute? Your beauty makes all the three worlds auspicious. Indeed, even the cows, the birds, the trees, and deer manifest ecstatic symptoms of bodily hair standing on end when they see your beautiful form. Narada was telling Gopakumar, this is very important, speaking about the gopis of Vrindavan. He said he called out to Gopakumar to catch his attention. He told Gopakumar, "Oh Tata, listen carefully." Now the word Tata means loved one. It can either mean child or it can mean grandchild, grandson. It can also mean grandfather. So this word Tata, it means someone who's very beloved. Okay, like for example, we see in Bhagavatam third canto, Krishna calls out to Brahma. He says, "Oh Tata," like that he calls out. So it is a way of calling when you want to catch the attention of someone. So Narada, he called out to Gopakumar saying, "Oh Tata, listen very, very carefully. The beauty, character, virtues, and behavior of all the women in Vraja excelled even that of the goddess of fortune. All respectable family people worship the lotus feet of the gopis. Yet, even then, Krishna's beauty robbed the women of Vraja of all their sobriety. The gopis of Vraja, they were respectable from every angle. They were all from respectable families. And these women were not some sort of careless people. They were so beautiful. They were very sublime in their character and they had gravity in their shyness. They had very firm determination. They were capable of handling all sorts of situations. But at the same time, they were perfectly capable of handling various activities and different means of worshipping their beloved. Gopal Deva, his beauty stole the hearts of all these women. It would drive them crazy. They would go to extraordinary states of consciousness. They would leave behind everything, all their household chores. They would leave behind their children, their husbands, and run after Krishna. They would just run for Krishna. If they heard Krishna playing the flute from the forests of Vrindavan, they would just drop everything and run behind him. The Vrajavasis, they were cursing Brahma for creating eyelids because these eyelids were obstructing their vision of seeing their beloved Gopal. So they would curse Brahma. The Vrajavasis were glorifying, in fact, even Indra. They were glorifying Indra instead of glorifying Brahma. They were telling this Brahma is useless. He has created eyelids and this is obstructing my vision of Krishna. But whereas Indra is so fortunate, he's got thousands of eyes. And with these thousands of eyes, he can continuously see the beauty of Lord Krishna. How fortunate is he? He was cursed to have thousands of eyes because of Gautama, but that curse has become the biggest benediction for Indra. In fact, the Vrajavasis would pray that all their other senses should transform into eyes so that they could continuously behold the beauty of the Lord in various ways and the other senses won't obstruct their experience of seeing the Lord's beauty. So, supposing they are just beholding the Lord's beauty and suddenly they hear some weird noise, so that ear would be obstructing their vision. They would get distracted, right, because of hearing something else. So like that, so that's the reason the gopis are saying, let everything become eyes. When we are seeing Krishna, let all the senses become eyes. Then we will be very, very happy. Now, for example, if Yashoda, she's seeing the beauty of Krishna, and suddenly she's smelling that milk is boiling in the kitchen. She has to run to switch off the milk, switch off the fire that is boiling the milk. So that would be a distraction. Everybody, not only the young girls, everybody would pray like this. Let everything become ice so that I can continuously keep seeing Krishna. That was the beauty of the Lord. In fact, the beauty of the Lord is considered as the biggest weapon the Lord has. That's why when Lord Chaitanya came, we say Sango Pangastra Parshadam. So, what is that weapons that he's carrying? The weapon. Have we seen Chaitanya Mahaprabhu carry any weapon? No. It is only his beauty. Even in yesterday's CC class, we were hearing how just by his beauty, he transformed all the Mayavadis into devotees. Just by his beautiful dance, just seeing his beauty, people were getting transformed. So the greatest thing, it is the most wonderful thing about Krishna. He's so complete in beauty. Rupa Madhuri, four extra qualities of Krishna. When we talk about it, we say Rupa Madhuri, captivating beauty, that threefold bending form, holding a flute. He's one form of the Lord that never carries weapons, as in, like holding all the four weapons in four hands. He's not like that. Krishna is not like that. He's just enjoying. He's just playing the flute with a nice cross leg, threefold bending form with all the beautiful forest jewelry. That is Krishna. So extremely beautiful. So, and the beauty that he especially displays in Brajabhumi is not seen anywhere else. Of course, no matter where the Lord goes, his transcendental nature is changeless. However, the devotees in Vaikunta, Dwaraka, and Ayodhya, they do not have the same experience. They cannot have the same experience as the exquisite loving feelings of the Vrajavasis. What the Vrajavasis are experiencing when they see this form of Krishna is totally different. Such sorts of experiences, other places they never get. They don't see childhood pastimes of Krishna killing demons or Krishna running behind cows in the pasture lands of Raja. Nowhere such beautiful scenes can be seen. It is possible only in Vrajabhumi. Krishna's qualities appear newer and newer every moment in the land of Raja. In his childhood, Krishna, he expresses all his gentleness. At the same time, he expresses his naughty behavior. At the same time, he still has so much intelligence and he has got such a skillful nature, like a 15-year-old adolescent. So before lifting up the Govardhan hill, Krishna was talking very high-end philosophy, like a very intelligent person. At the same time, he was an innocent boy of 7 years old. That is Krishna. Imagine a 7-year-old boy lifting up such a big hill, protecting everyone. He's showing his grand opulence. At the same time, what is he doing there? He is looking at the gopis and his hands are shaking because of the love that he's having for the gopis. So that is Krishna. It's inconceivable. So much opulence, at the same time, so much sweetness. So Krishna's pastimes in Brajabhumi, they are seen in 3 stages. From ages 1 to 5, it's called as Pauganda. 6 to 10 is called as Kaishora. And 11 to 16 and so on is called as, 11 to 16 is Kaishora. Pauganda is 6 to 10 and Kaumara is 1 to 5. Sorry for that. So we see that even in his Pauganda Leela or Kaumara Leela, Krishna, he shows like as if he's a person who's in the Kaishora age, as if he's like 10 plus. That's how he is. Even after, actually, the truth is that only after killing the demon Keshi, he technically entered into the Kaishora age, according to the Bhagavatam. Only after killing the demon Keshi, that was almost towards the end of his Vrindavan pastimes. But still, even during his Pauganda Leela, he was behaving like a boy of the Kaishora age. It is very, very attractive. That age, that age of adolescence is supposed to be the most attractive form of Krishna, very beautiful form of Krishna. And Narada was specifically attracted to those pastimes and attracted to that particular form, that beauty that he exhibited in that age. So no person in the material world, not even great lords like Brahma or Shiva or any demigod, has done anything similar to the wonderful deeds that was performed by Sri Krishna and Vrindavan. Not even other incarnations of the Lord like Narasimha or Ramachandra have done anything like what Krishna performs, and not even Krishna himself in other places. Krishna in Dwaraka, yes, he has performed fantastic pastimes, but the sweetness of Raja is not there in those pastimes. So Krishna very easily, he killed so many demons and he distributed pure love to everyone while he was present there. While he was killing demons, he was snatching the hearts of all the devotees. Everybody was melting, seeing Krishna's activities, Krishna's beauty, and all the sweetness that he was pouring out when he was performing everything. When he was working, everyone was going mad looking at his work. When he was talking, everyone was going crazy, hearing his sweetness of talk. When he would play the flute, everyone would become stunned hearing that wonderful music. So, like this, he just robbed the hearts of everyone in Rajabhumi. Then Narada told Gopakumar, he said, actually, this tongue, it is not capable of speaking all of Krishna's glories. It is very hard. We just have a limited tongue. How much can we speak? Krishna's glories, they are unlimited. Even Sesha is trying hard to cope up with Krishna's glories. So Narada said, this tongue is not capable of speaking all the glories. But anyhow, the truth is that whose heart won't be stolen when he has drunk even once through the ear holes the nectar of the pastimes of Krishna? Even once, if you hear one pastime of Krishna, whose heart won't melt? It is interesting when we talk of Krishna Leela, all his pastimes in Vrindavan before he becomes an adult is actually the most glorified. It is the most glorified part of his, because he is the most sweet at that time. So his pastimes in Vrindavan is the most glorified, and in fact, it is the Vrindavan Leela that is uh, described page after page after page in Bhagavatam. Even the acharyas, when they write commentaries, it is the Vrindavan Leela that everyone is focusing. The commentaries on the Vrindavan Leela is so intense. Everyone writes poetry, they write books. What are they writing about? Again and again, they choose the pastimes of Vrindavan because it is so attractive. It is so attractive. The pastimes just go on and on. The pages of Bhagavatam, if you see, the 10th canto is so large, it is so large. The rest of the other cantos, they are competing with just the 10th canto. The 10th canto is so large. And a maximum portion of the 10th canto is the pastimes in Vrindavan. So Krishna did so much in Vrindavan. Every second, something new was unraveling there. But still, Narada said, yes, it's very hard to describe all these pastimes, but still my tongue is very restless, so I want to continue talking about Krishna. So he said, I'm going to talk more. I'm going to talk about more of Krishna's pastimes. Already Narada had spoken about the deliverance of Putana, right? We saw how very quickly he spoke about the deliverance of Putana and the kindness of Krishna, that he even delivered such a wicked person. So then he continued further and he said, at the age of 3 months, Krishna, he laid under the cart and he broke the cart with his tender foot. He then cried for breast milk like an innocent child. Not just that, on at least 2 occasions, Krishna showed to his mother the entire universe in his mouth. So when Krishna was only 3 months old and he was trying to turn around, that he was trying to turn on his backside up, even before he attempted to crawl, Mother Yashoda wanted to observe a ritualistic ceremony with her friends called as Uttana ceremony. That is when the child just turns around. When babies, they turn around by themselves. That ceremony is called as the Uttana ceremony. And Mother Yashoda, she wanted to observe that ceremony. And everyone had come home, and the atmosphere was very, very busy. Yashoda was taking care of all the guests, and Krishna was lying in one place. And it appeared that Krishna was falling asleep. So, what happened? Mother Yashoda, she was saying that Krishna is falling asleep, and she wanted to make sure that he's kept in a place where everyone can watch him. So, she took Krishna and she put him under a cart, household cart that was there. It is called as a shakata. So underneath the Shakata, she put Krishna, and Krishna was sleeping in his cradle. And Yashoda carried on, and she was engaging herself in other activities pertaining to the ritualistic ceremony that was going on. Underneath the cart was this cradle, and Mother Yashoda had placed baby Krishna in that cradle, and Krishna was sleeping. But then suddenly he woke up and he began to kick his small legs. And because of his kicking, the cart on top shook and it collapsed with a great sound, breaking completely into pieces. And all the contents that was there on the cart was all thrown around. And the children who were playing nearby, they immediately ran to Mother Yashoda and they informed that the cart was completely broken and Krishna was responsible for it. Now, Mother Yashoda and the other elders in Vrindavan, when they heard this sound and when they saw these little boys rushing towards them, complaining that the cart is broken, Mother Yashoda went there and she saw Krishna. And Krishna, he was acting like a helpless child. So they just couldn't believe the words of these little cowherd boys that Krishna was responsible for breaking this entire cart. They couldn't understand, I mean, rather, they couldn't perceive or they didn't want to accept that it was Krishna's inconceivable power that broke the cart. They just couldn't believe the statements of the children and they dismissed these statements and they just neglected it as childish talk. What did they think? They thought that some bad planet has attacked Krishna. So Mother Yashoda hastily picked up the crying child and she allowed him to suck her breast and give him milk. Then she called for experienced brahmanas to chant Vedic hymns and perform this ritualistic ceremony. And after that, some strong and stout cowherd men, they brought back the pots that were thrown, and then they set up a cart and they put it back in place. And then the brahmanas, they came and they performed the entire ceremony with a fire sacrifice, and they also did rituals to please bad planets that were affecting Krishna. That's what they were thinking. They were thinking it is the influence of those planets that something went wrong. So let's appease all the bad planets. And then they offered rice and kusha grass and water and they worshipped the Supreme Lord. So after this miraculous deed of knocking down the cart, what did Krishna do? That is the $1,000,000 question. After kicking the cart, after breaking up everything, after creating such a chaos, what did he do? He was crying. Why was he crying? He was crying for milk so that his mother can come and feed him milk. This is so amazing to Narada. Narada, he says it is so amazing to even contemplate how a person with such amazing powers can even cry in the first place. He's so powerful that he's kicked down, knocked down a cart, broken it into pieces. Everything is shattered. He's so powerful, right? With just the flick of his toe, like that. He did everything. And now he's crying like an innocent baby for milk. And in another point of view, Narada was so amazed because he was thinking, how can he even dare to ask milk after breaking down the entire cart, after creating so much problem in the household? What guts does he have? He wants to ask for milk after creating such a big mess. All the valuable possessions of the household was on the cart. So many pots and vessels, everything was broken. Such a mess. And he's got the guts to cry for milk. So like that, Narada was amazed. He was thinking, this boy, he was appearing like a helpless child crying for milk. And what did he do after drinking that milk? He opened his mouth and he showed the entire universe inside his mouth. Now, this is Krishna. You know, he's crying for milk on one side. He's saying, I'm hungry. And like a helpless baby, he's sucking the milk. And then what he's doing, he's opening his mouth and showing the entire universe to Yashoda. So Narada was bewildered, talking about this. He was thinking, Krishna is so amazing. And also in another incident, when all the boys complained, headed by Balram, they all went and complained that Krishna ate dirt. What happened? Krishna said, no, I didn't eat any dirt. And when Mother Yashoda said, okay, open your mouth, very innocently Krishna opened his mouth. And what did he do? He showed the universe inside his mouth. So at least in 2 occasions, Krishna was showing the universe in his mouth. And this is discussed in Bhagavatam. So the pastimes in Gokul Vrindavan, they combine this ultimate display of God's power with the display of his sweetness. Both are so beautifully blended, his opulence and his sweetness. So Narada in ecstasy, he told Gopakumar, may you be protected by those extremely famous, amazing, attractive pastimes of Krishna, crawling in the dust of Vrindavan, holding on to the tails of calves, being smeared with cow dung and urine and with all the dust of Vrindavan smeared on his body. May you be protected by the dust. May you be protected by the pastimes of killing Trinavarta. Krishna appeared like an innocent baby. He went all the way high and then he showed his real weight. And then he just pressed down Trinavarta's shoulders and Trinavarta came down crashing. His pastimes of stealing butter and yogurt. Why was he stealing all that? Krishna, was he really stealing, first of all? Everything is Krishna's, right? Everything is Krishna. What in the world is not Krishna's? But still, he did the pastime of stealing. Even that butter was his only. But he did the pastime of stealing. Why did he do it? Just to satisfy the heart of the gopis. The gopis would keep their door open so that Krishna can come and steal butter. They were enjoying it so much. So Krishna just did this so that everybody can be happy. Everyone can enjoy the pastimes. So Narada said, let such pastimes protect you from all sorts of fear. Anytime we are feeling very low or we are fearful, this is what we should do. We should read the Bhagavatam. We should meditate on these beautiful pastimes of Krishna. They'll just transform your heart. They will bring back your mind to the real focus, which is Krishna Katha. So then Narada Muni, he indirectly also, when he was saying, I pray that this pastime protects you, I pray that pastime protects you. Narada Muni, he was actually praying for himself. I hope Gopakumar doesn't faint now hearing all these pastimes. I hope Gopakumar doesn't get bewildered in ecstasy hearing these pastimes. Because Narada, he wanted to continue saying more about Krishna. So Narada, he said, I pray everything is okay with you. And then he continued talking. He said, Krishna, he showed all the opulence in all his pastimes in Vrindavan, yet he maintained his sweetness. The pastime of him dealing with the fruit seller. Krishna showed all his opulence when he transformed the basket of fruits into a basket of jewels. That was opulence. Yet he showed a supreme sweetness by attracting the heart of the fruit seller so much so that she just forgot everything and she perfected her life. She attained love of God. Opulence and sweetness intertwine in the glorious pastimes of Krishna. Narada said, may I also be protected by the restless eyes of Krishna that showed apparent fear when the gopis complained about him for stealing butter, and the delight he showed in eating dirt, and the games he played when Mother Yashoda was churning yogurt. When Mother Yashoda was churning yogurt, what would he do? He would go and catch hold of the rod. Very, very mischievous. The Lord's crying, his breaking of the yogurt pot, his stealing of fresh butter from the storage pots hanging in the ceilings, his running away from fear of his mother, and his restless looking eyes in fear is all so wonderful to see. Every feature of the Lord is so wonderful to see. Narada said, let my mind be enchanted by the dragging of the mortar to which his mother had tied him with ropes around his belly, his felling of the two Arjuna trees, the Yamalarjuna trees, his sweetness while bestowing benediction. He was so naughty. At the same time, he was showing his opulence, his strength, that he can pull this mortar and he can run around with the mortar. He was acting like a helpless kid just 2 minutes back when Mother Yashoda was trying to bind him with ropes. He was acting like a helpless child. He was rubbing his eyes and he was crying and he was calling out to help. He was seeking the empathy and the sympathy of all the devotees in Vrajabhumi, saying that I'm being tired, I'm so helpless. Once Yashoda went away, what did he do? He started dragging the mortar. He was showing his infinite opulence. And then next minute, what did he do? He pulled down the two trees, and in that he was showing his infinite mercy and sweetness. Though he was tied, he was in a helpless condition. Krishna was thinking about his devotees. Oh, how can I actually release them? He wanted to release the others who were tied. So that was Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam describes Tat Gachatam Mat Paramau Nalakuvar Sadhanam Sanjato Mai Bhavuvam Ipshitaha Paramo Abhavaha. O Nalakuvara and Mani Griva, now you may both return home. Since you desire to always be absorbed in my devotional service, your desire to develop love and affection for me will be fulfilled. And now you will never fall down again from that platform. So, this was the sweetness of Krishna. He was bestowing such a beautiful benediction. After finishing the pastimes in Mahavan, all this was happening in Gokul Mahavan till here, till what we have discussed. Everything was happening in Gokul Mahavan. Then there were too many dangers in Gokul Mahavan, so they had to move on. So then Narada Muni began talking of the Lord's pastimes in the largest of the forests of the 12 forests of Rajamandal, which is Vrindavan. So while tending calves and playing in Vrindavan forest, Krishna killed Vatsasura and Bakasura. Krishna, when he would go to Vrindavan forest, he would adorn himself in a beautiful forest dress with peacock feathers and forest minerals and gunja berries to decorate his ears and decorate his leg. He would wear gunja berries on his feet, making anklets of gunja berries, earrings of gunja berries. He would decorate his turban with a beautiful peacock feather. So, like this, with whatever was available in the forests of Vrindavan, which is so opulent, Krishna would dress so simply, so beautifully. Actually, someone is unmute. Can you all mute? Sorry. I can hear my own voice. Thank you. So, Krishna would go like that to the forests of Vrindavan. And that beauty was actually captivating Narada's heart. He was saying, may that first guru of the art of playing the flute, which he perfected by roaming in the forests of Vrindavan, may that guru protect me. Narada, he himself is actually a great instrument player. He plays the veena and he sings very well. Narada has got a lot of artistic skills. So he was praising my real guru, the Adi guru of all musical instruments is actually Krishna. And Krishna plays the flute, everyone's heart just melts. So may that Krishna actually protect me. In their childhood pastimes, Krishna and Balram, they began to take charge of calves and they sent them to pasturing grounds. And during this time, two demons came. The first demon who came was Vatsasura. And what did Vatsasura do? He entered among the calves and he was killed by Krishna very, very easily. Then another Asura in the shape of a big duck, Bakasura, came. He was also killed by Krishna very, very nicely by splitting the beak of Bakasura. Then the playmates of Krishna, they narrated all these stories to their mother. They went to their mothers and they told, oh, Krishna very easily killed Bakasura. Krishna very easily killed Vatsasura. So they would go and tell these stories to their mothers. But when they would tell these stories to their mothers just couldn't believe their children. Krishna's playmates, they would go and tell everything so seriously. Still, the mothers would laugh and they would enjoy these narrations out of affection, but they would never take it seriously because that was the mode of Rajabhumi. If too much opulence is understood by everyone, then the sweetness gets masked. So, this is how everything was set perfectly in the land of Raja by Lord Sri Krishna. Then Narada said, I worship the pastimes that he performed in the early mornings when he entered the forest of Vrindavan with his calves and friends. Some of these pastimes are so relishable, like the pastime of entering the mouth of the great snake Aghasura after pondering in various ways whether he should enter or not. After killing Vatsasura, after killing Bakasura, the next demon was Aghasura. Now, one day, Krishna, he wanted to enjoy a picnic lunch in the forest of Vrindavan. So he went out very early to the forest with all the other cowherd boys, accompanied by their respective group of calves that they were tending. And while they were enjoying their picnic, Aghasura, a big python, who was the younger brother of Putana and Bakasura, appeared there. And he had a very intense desire to kill Krishna and all his companions. This demon was sent by Krishna and sorry, by sent by Kamsa, and he had assumed the form of a huge python. He had extended himself to 8 miles and to the height of a mountain. His mouth was wide open, and it appeared that his mouth was actually touching the top of the heavenly planets, and his lower jaw was touching the surface of the earth. It was so widely open. His sister Putana was 12 miles long, actually. His sister Putana was 12 miles, and Agha, being the younger brother, he was only 8 miles. Just 8 miles, that's all. So, like that, he was sleeping in the forest of Vrindavan, keeping his mouth open, and he was like a statue. He was lying on the road. Now, when Krishna and his friends, the cowherd boys, they passed through this area and they saw this wonderful. They didn't understand what it was first. First, they were thinking it is some sort of creature. Then they thought it is some sort of playground. They thought it's such a beautiful spot in Vrindavan. So they thought it's like some theme park. And they were talking to each other, saying, "Have we seen this before? This looks so unique and wonderful." So Aghasura, he was a demon, but still he was keeping his mouth open like a statue. He was waiting for everyone to enter his mouth. And when they saw this gigantic python, which was looking so weird, and it was a new thing in Vrindavan, these boys, out of curiosity, they wanted to enter the mouth of Aghasura. Krishna knew everything. See, he was displaying his opulence in a very covered way. He knew everything about Aghasura. So he wanted to stop his friends from entering the demon's mouth. But at the same time, the cowherd boys already, with their groups of calves, they started entering the mouth of that gigantic figure. So Krishna was waiting outside, and Aghasura was waiting for Krishna to come in, because Aghasura's plan was, he was thinking, once Krishna comes in, then I will close my mouth and I will swallow everyone and everyone will die. So he was waiting for Krishna, and Krishna was observing everything and he was thinking what to do. He was thinking in his mind, should I enter? What should I do? How do I save my friends? He was thinking like that. And then Krishna, thinking how to exactly save his cowherd friends, he actually entered the mouth of Aghasura to kill Aghasura. So Narada Muni, he's glorifying the deliberation of Krishna. How nicely Krishna deliberated whether I should enter or not enter. This is also described in Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 12, verse number 28. It says, "Now what is to be done? How could both the killing of this demon and the saving of the devotees be performed simultaneously?" Krishna, being the unlimitedly potent, desired to wait for an intelligent means by which he could simultaneously save the boys and also kill the demon. Then he entered the mouth of Aghasura. So all these pastimes, they are full of rasa. Every minute, Krishna can show his opulence, he can show his sweetness, he can do it perfectly. That is possible only in the land of Raja, and that completely enchants the hearts of everybody who hear of these pastimes. Next, Narada said, "My mind is so utterly enchanted by the Lord's pastime of taking lunch on the grassy shores of the river Yamuna. When the calves wandered off, the Lord got up and personally he went and searched for the calves with a lump of yogurt, rice, and fruits in his hand, which he was still carrying when he was looking for these calves." Fantastic verse. It's a very famous verse from Bhagavatam. बिभृत्वेणुं झटरपटयो शृङ्गवेत्रे च कक्षे वामे पाणौ मसरणकवलं तत्फलानि अङ्गुलिषु तिष्ठन्मध्ये स्वपरिसुहृतो हास्यन्नर्मभिः स्वै स्वर्गे लोके मिशति बुभुजे यज्ञबुक्पालकेली. Krishna's yajna book, that is, he eats only offerings of yajna. But to exhibit his childhood pastimes, he now sat with his flute tucked between his waist and his tight cloth on the right side, and with his horn and bugle for drive and a cow driving stick to his left, holding in his hand a very nice preparation of yogurt and rice with pieces of suitable fruit between his fingers. He sat like a whirl of the lotus flower, looking forward toward all his friends, personally joking with them, and creating a jubilant laughter among all of them as he ate. At that time, the denizens of heaven were watching, struck with wonder at how the personality of Godhead, who eats only in yajna, was now eating with his friends in the forest. Even the denizens of heaven, they were thinking, Vrajabhumi is so fortunate. Here, Krishna is eating his yajna book. Look at that. There, he's ready to, enjoy food with all his friends. Some of his friends, with their left hand, they are putting food inside Krishna's mouth, and Krishna is enjoying it. He's relishing it. There is one boy who's putting a flower, saying that I made a very nice rasagulla today. Open your mouth, Krishna. And he forced inside Krishna's mouth a flower. And everyone started laughing, and Krishna spit it out in distaste. So all this can happen only in the land of Raja. Krishna was so intent on stealing the lunchbox of other friends. In all his opulence and Vaikuntha or in any other place, would Krishna ever do this? He would never do it. All this is possible only in Vrajabhumi. So, although the incident concerning Aghasura had been performed 1 year before, that is Aghasura keeping his mouth open and all the cowherd boys entering, although this was performed 1 year before, when the cowherd boys were 5 years old, it happened. But only when they were 6 years old, they went home and they all told their parents that it happened today. So, the biggest secret why they reported it only after 1 year, that was discussed in great detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam. What happened was, after killing Aghasura, Krishna, along with all his associates and cowherd boys, went for a picnic in the forest right after the killing. The calves were allured by green grass and gradually they went far away. And so Krishna and his associates, they became a little agitated and they wanted to bring back the calves. Krishna, however, as we saw, he was holding that lump of curd rice and he went to search for the calves. He told his little cowherd friends that you continue taking your tiffin. I will come back very soon. Don't get worried. I will come back soon with the calves. So saying that, he departed. But then, just to examine the real potency of Krishna, someone took away all the calves and the cowherd boys and kept them in a secluded place. Then Krishna, who's the cause of all causes, just in order to please the person who did this mischief and also please all his dear devotees in Vrindavan, he expanded himself to become all the calves and boys exactly as they were looking before. In this way, he created another pastime. He created another very, very relishable pastime. A very special feature of this pastime is that all the mothers of the cowherd boys became more attached to their respective sons, and all the cows became more attached to their respective calves. He did this special pastime for 1 year. He expanded himself into each one of them. Every article that they were carrying were also manifested by Krishna. Everything became Krishna. And Baladev observed this. One day, Baladev, he observed that all the cowherd boys and calves were actually expansions of Krishna. At that time, he inquired from Krishna what was happening. So, that what exactly happened, who was the one who stole the calves, what all actually was happening at that time, all that and the realizations of Narada from that particular pastime we will see in the next class. Now, of course, it's no surprise. Everyone knows who did it. Everyone knows it was Brahma. But still, we'll see how Narada relishes this pastime in our next class. So, actually, what we're doing now is Narada is doing is that he's recounting all the pastimes that happened in the land of Raja from the time Krishna appeared, especially the pastimes where he was continuously showing his sweetness and opulence and how it was intertwined. So, that is what we are relishing now. And we can stop here. We are definitely out of time. So, we can stop here. And if you have any questions, comments, or realizations, please go ahead. Hare Krishna. Oh, you can't speak. Oh, you can. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah.
So much. I think he's telling about these pastimes, like how Narada Muni said that my tongue, though it's not capable, still I don't want to from. And I was thinking in the same line that our ears are also so itchy now that we want to hear more and more about Krishna. It's so wonderful. It's so wonderful that, it should go on and on and on. Even, we've heard it so many times.
Yeah.
And as you were explaining all these points, when Haripasha Prabhu was here and was telling the realization of Kavitri.
Exactly.
Yeah. With how these Krishna content can be, narrated to a 5-year-old child as a bedtime story, but also can be learned so much for the sadhaka, for the devotee. You can learn so much from these contents. That's so relishable. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For bringing all points.
As you were mentioning, I was also thinking of another thing. How Hari Suri also, we were hearing that he exactly only wrote commentaries on Vrindavan pastimes, right? Just on the Vrindavan chapters, yeah. And that was also very nice, yeah.
Especially this comment came, right? How he's holding the rice in his hand, and he found out that nobody's there, and that's it. Everybody knows, right? It's the Brahma.
Yeah.
So Krishna then told that I cannot leave these rice in my hand. So how can I let go my devotees? Oh Brahma, I know you have taken them, but now they can watch. See what I can do.
Yes.
It's so sweet.
Very, very sweet.
But thank you so much. It's coming from your sweet mouth. It's making it more sweeter.
Oh, that's
thank you so much.
Yes, I'm just reading literally. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasi Mataji. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mataji, very, very beautiful class. As Kirtana Sundari Mataji said, it was very sweet from hearing from you. And we can see the expressions in the live. It was so nice to see you live and you're explaining so nicely. It was like past tense figure 3 now in front of our eyes. Even not Narada Muni is explaining to what the feeling that he is having, that extent he's explaining, we could feel that we could involve into it actually. It was so beautiful, Mataji, so beautiful.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, for the kind words and all the effort that you always put in. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji, very beautiful explanation. And I think like the kids should also listen to the Bhagavatamrta story. And really, really wonderful stuff, Mataji.
Thank you, Sita. Hari Bol, Sita Mataji. Thanks to you. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my Dhanavad. As everybody is saying, I second to everybody's comment, Mataji. It was so sweet at each and every session of your classes, Mataji. And this time, Mataji, I got to know one more 2 points, Mataji, that you are telling like Shekatansura Mata and the God Krishna opened his mouth and showed the universe. So he showed 2 times to Mother Yashoda. That is the point I learned from your lesson. Thank you so much, Mataji. Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Supriya Mataji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything, Mataji, for the chanting, for everything. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your kind words.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Can you just remind me the 2 times that he just showed the universe? One was when he ate the dirt, and what was the other?
When he was drinking milk and suddenly he opened his mouth, yawned, or he opened his mouth. Actually, different acharyas, not only 2 times, 2 times in Bhagavatam, but there are so many acharyas who write under so many circumstances, actually, Krishna opened his mouth. But at least 2 times is mentioned in Bhagavatam, which is commented heavily. Yeah.
So even while the milk was in his mouth, she could see the universe.
I don't know the exact snapshot of that how it was, but we can imagine. Yeah. Yes, it's very beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. I don't know if it's relevant here, but then I just heard this, so I wanted to share. There is one, some of the alvars, right, in their compositions also, they have said once, this is very funny. So once when Yashoda was cleaning the tongue of Krishna, sometimes we have these tongue cleaners, right, to clean our tongue. So like that, once she in those days, there was no question of tongue cleaners. So she had this, ladies, they take bath with a piece of turmeric. When they go to the river, they rub turmeric on their body like a scrubber, and they take bath with that, ladies. So one of the poems is that Yashoda once, with that turmeric with which she takes bath, she wanted to clean the tongue of Krishna, and that time she saw the universe. So I thought that was also very sweet. So there are many realizations like that, but Bhagavatam speaks only of two. Thank you, Mataji.
I'll never look at turmeric the same way again. It's a good way to remember Krishna.
Yeah, good way to remember Krishna, yes. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Priti Rasmi Mataji, Dandavat Prana.
Hari.
Wonderful class, Mataji. So sweet. Just like all of them said, Mataji. This is what we have been waiting for. We have been so eager.
Yeah, I know. Finally, the pastimes have started.
Unraveling the mystery is so beautiful. So excited, Mataji. Yeah. Just like what you were saying, Narayana Bhattacharya. But when he was sitting in front of Guru Ayurappan and he was writing his Narayaniyam, like his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, same at that time, he was talking about this Yashoda Krishna pastime, right? The Damodar pastime. And
I know.
He reads Vyasadev's and he says, oh my God, how can Krishna lift up such a big mortar stone? It's so heavy. He's such a tiny little boy. How can he lift it up? So I think the rod used to churn curd. Yeah, I think that was what he used to break the pot, not this big rod, big stone. So he's thinking like that, and he writes. And so from inside, from the Sri Kovil, he hears a voice immediately. Guru Ayurappan says, oh, Bhattacharya, what you have written sounds very nice to me, but what actually happened is what Vyasa wrote. So I was just reminded of that while you're talking about this pastime in his mouth and you're talking about the Damodar Leela pastime. Yeah. Haribol Mataji, all glory, you're wonderful, wonderful sir.
Thank you, Mataji. I just wanted to also talk about that pastime of what you were saying about Bhattadri. So he said that he used Bhattadri said, actually the Bhagavatam has one thing, Bhattadri said something else, right? So one commentator on Narayaniyam, he was saying that, okay, let's solve the problem. Actually, Shukadev Goswami, he saw it from, like, for example, if actually Krishna hit the pot with both, with the stone and with the rod. He hit it with both. Okay, like two hands you have like this. He hit it like that with both. Shukadeva Goswami saw it from one angle, that is the left-hand side, for example. He saw it from the left side, and this Bhattadri saw it from the right side. So it's still okay. You understood what I said? There's a commentary like that actually on that, and I was hearing that once.
Yeah, this is what we have heard, like the stories say, like
Yeah, yeah, Shukadeva, of course, we have to be true to the original, but yes. Yeah. Very nice, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Anyone else has anything to share or any realizations? Okay. So then we can end the call. Thank you all so much for participating so nicely. It was very enjoyable with all of you. We'll end the call. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanam Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavram ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for joining. Ananta Koti Vaishnavram. Mataji, whoever is still on the host app or whoever is having access still, you can end the call and I will end the YouTube.